Hey everybody, it's Jane. Good afternoon or morning or evening. I wanted to show you guys today how I do English paper piecing, also known as EPP. I have been doing this, it has to be over 30 years, and I love it, love it, love it. Here is a hexagon project I'm working on in all Liberty of London prints. Here's another one, and it's giant hexagons, again in the Liberty of London prints. I like to work, by the way, in small sections like this and then stitch them together. It just makes it easier to handle. And then I have some really pretty, I don't even know what this pattern's called, you guys, but it's like a star, but this is also in Liberty of London prints. Here's another one. I think this one might be my favorite. These beautiful blues, and you can see in this technique I am using, I'm basting my templates to my fabric. Look at how beautiful that is. This has got big hexagons. Beautiful purples. This is the other one I absolutely love. And I don't use enough orange, but when I see it, I love it. I have to remember that. And look at how beautiful this is. So these are all getting worked on. And another thing quickly I wanted to show you is there's many ways. Here's Meredith the cloth doll in her Liberty of London dress. But look at her petticoat. I actually appliqued hexagons down that had papers, and I'm going to show you how I do the papers. With the paper and all, I put them down, I top stitch them down, and then all you do underneath is you cut away and pull the papers off. And look at how beautiful that petticoat is. It's a really, really easy technique, and I'm going to show you how I do it. So the first thing I want to show you is how I get my little papers, right? This is English paper piecing, and here is the smallest hexagon I've made so far, and I use freezer paper. So first thing I do, and this is where I keep my little paper pieces. I put them in these Bon Maman marmalade jars. I just love storing them that way. And who could resist that gingham top, right? And that beautiful label. So I keep my templates in a folder in these vinyl bags. And this is not that one. These are, I'll show you what I mean. These are 3 templates I've used. This is for my big hexagons, medium, and another size that I made, and I put it on, I used some template plastic. And for these, I would draw them onto the template plastic, and what I do, if you see my template paper, my freezer paper, I fold it up in a bunch of layers, staple it so it doesn't shift, and I would either draw this on like this, and then cut out a bunch all at once. You really have to be careful that the paper does not shift. Or a much easier way to do it, let's put these away, is to use a paper punch. So I have this hexagon punch. I have so many of these things. And I just take it, slide my paper in. Right, make sure it's in there. Give it a punch, and out come a whole bunch of these little paper pieces. This is by far the easiest way to do it for me. You can also order paper, freezer paper templates like this online. I love using freezer paper. I prefer just to do it myself, and it's super easy. Okay, so the next part is how do we get these onto your fabric? And let me tell you, look at this beautiful pile of Liberty of London scraps. This is a great way to use up scraps. EPP is perfect for that. But when you look at your freezer paper, when I wanted to show you, this is what the freezer paper looks like. That's it. Just get the Reynolds freezer paper, plastic coated. It will last you forever. It's fabulous. And when you look at that, you'll notice that there is a matte side. And then you see that. There you go. That shiny side. The shiny side has to be put on the wrong side of your scrap. And what I do is I place it down. The other thing, let me get in closer here. You want to have minimally 1/8 of an inch allowance all the way around to fold over. Best would be just about 1/4 of an inch would be perfect. So you're not like on the danger zone and, you know, working with a little sliver of fabric. So you put your hexagon down, grab your iron, and then press that down. And there it is, right attached to that piece of fabric. The next thing you want to do is we're going to cut around this. And I think, I don't know if I made a short and showed everybody what I keep in my little English paper piecing kit that I carry around with me. But I'm going to grab my glue pen. You can also baste around, but I find this is just faster. I've basted, you know, I don't know, it's easier to put it this way. I've used the glue pen in the last year. I've only been using it for a year, and it's by Sew Line. So I'm going to grab my scissors and my glue pen. And then another splurge that I did a few years ago was this rotating cutting mat, and I love it. So we want to cut around. Just like that. Save your scraps. And then we have to glue or baste. And I'll show you what basting looks like. It is just sewing the big long stitches around instead of gluing. For gluing, you take your glue pen. Here it is. And you swipe on some glue and keep it away from the edge of the paper so your stitches don't have to go through that glue. But you do that, and then you just press down like this, turn, look at that turntable go, press. Oops, I went a little low on that. And you just go around and you get into like a whole rhythm. You can do a whole bunch at once. Put them in a little baggie, and it's a great portable project. Oh, pet hair. All right, and then our last one. like to keep those little edges down. So there is our piece, glue basted and ready to go. All right, now we're going to sew these together. So I always use, and if you follow me, you know, I always use cotton thread. This is a Scanful, and it's, where's the weight? It's not super heavyweight because the Liberty fabric is just so fine. I don't really want to use a heavier weight cotton. And I don't know what this is, but maybe 50. I can't remember. Sorry, you guys. But it's not a super heavy weight. It's like an applique weight cotton thread. And I use, I think this is a number 9 or 10 piecing needle. And here's my thread with a little knot at the end. And here's some beeswax. And look, I have a miniature Bon Maman jar for this. I'm obsessed. What can I say? But you just take your thread, run it over the beeswax, gives it some strength. And hopefully we'll keep it from knotting, but that's not always a guarantee, let me tell you. Okay, so now grab a hexagon, and you can sit, you know, I love scrappy, but you can sit and, you know, have, you know, really be strategic. Do a grandmother's flower garden where I think it's a, you know, a different one in the middle, the same all the way around. And again, you could do that. I'm super scrappy. I just like to throw them all together. That's what I do. So let's pick the green and this pretty floral, put right sides together. And I'm going to try to come in even more. And there we go. All right, so I've got right sides together. And now I'm just going to begin sewing. If you want to hide the knot, which sometimes I remember to, sometimes I don't, I'll just go inside of the fabric like that, inside of that seam allowance, and pull it through, but make sure it goes all the way up or everything could come undone. Now I'm a lefty, I go from left to right, so I just pick up a couple of threads. See how little, there it goes, that I pick up. And I go from the bottom, I guess, pick up just a couple of little threads of each one of those hexagons. You could go from the top, see if I can get that like this, but to me, I'm like yanking my wrist around. It just isn't natural for me. And then you just keep sewing across. I like to make them close together. So the whole point to taking just a couple of threads is we don't want to see those stitches on the other side if we can help it, let's say. So there I am going along, and you could barely see those little stitches. So we really don't want to see them, and also the closer they are together like this, the stronger your seam is going to be. I'm going to go up to the end, and then I'll meet you back here and show you how I finish. Okay, I'm getting close to the end. And normally, if I were, you know, making a block or working on my hexagon quilt, I wouldn't end it here and put a knot. I would go up to the end. Let's get up there. And you see why this is such a great portable quilting project. Okay. So I have my two little pieces sewn together, my two hexagons. And if I were to keep going, I would add a third, right? And what I would do is, here's my thread. I would put this down and I would just do a double like stitch there and then continue to the end. And then I would have the 3 of these together. So you see how that works. To end it, I just, again, do a little double stitch. I guess this is the whip stitch, right? And then I put my needle down, go around twice, pull it through like that. Oh, hope it doesn't get stuck on the fabric like it just did. And then I have my little tiny knot there. And I would just bring my needle underneath here just to get rid of that little tail. And then snip it off like that. And then you have, I could get them apart, the beginning of a wonderful project. Now, a lot of people ask, let me bring this out again. Well, when do you remove the papers, right? I leave the freezer paper so light, I leave it in for a really, really long time. But I have another one here, which I haven't picked up for a while. Here, let me bring this one. This is the larger one, right? And it's got these big papers, and they're not even freezer paper, and I'm just wrangling with them. So what I think I'm going to do, and some of them I have basted, some of them I have glued, and I find, frankly, with pieces this big, it's more durable to just baste them down. But what I want to do, because I've kind of researched, I'm like, when do I start to remove these papers? And I would remove the papers on all the shapes that are not on the edge and about to be stitched to. That is what I've heard over and over again. So I would leave the papers and all these hexagons going around as I'm sewing and remove the ones that are sewn all around, you know, pop those papers out of there. So that is it. Let's get Meredith and her little hexagon skirt over here to sign off. English paper piecing, you guys, is so easy. It really, truly is. And look what you can do with the little shapes. It doesn't have to just be in a quilt project. You can stitch them onto anything, clothing, anything at all. They're so much fun. You could stitch 2 of them together. Imagine larger ones and make coasters. If you had a big one, just stitch 2 together, go around. They'll be fabulous. Any questions at all, please ask in the comments, and I will list everything that I've used in the description at the bottom. Thanks again for watching. See you guys.